Hello, today I'm going to share with you how to make a dress with an inner lacing bar, or how to attach an inner lacing bar to your dress. So if you haven't yet subscribed, please hit on the subscribe button. So first, we'll start by drafting out our basic pattern. And we'll be drafting out the back pattern, which I've marked out all my measurements, which is the shoulder to bust, shoulder to under bust, shoulder to waistline, and 4 inches for, because this is the back pattern, to get your top length. And I added the zipper allowance in front. So next, you're going to mark your shoulder divided by 2 and add half if you're going to attach sleeve to your dress. But if your dress doesn't have a sleeve, do not add ½ inch. So I'm going to go down by 1 inch at that my shoulder point, and I'll go ahead to mark my neckline. For the neckline, I'm using 1 inch by 1.5 inches, and I'll go ahead to connect it all the way to the shoulder this way. So next is to find your chest line. To find your chest line is your bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. So go ahead to mark that, and whatever I have at the shoulder, I'll remark it and go ahead to connect. This is to make sure that I have a straight line. So I'm going to go ahead to connect, and I'll measure what I have from that point to my chest line, and I'm going to mark it all the way down, and I'm also going to rule a straight line at those points. So after I'm done connecting, next is to mark your bust circumference divided by 6, and your measurement starts after the zip. Go ahead to divide your armhole into 2 and come out by ½ inch. Now I'll place my French curve touching my bust circumference, the ½ inch I went in at the armhole and my shoulder. Now, after doing this, the next step is to go ahead to mark your nipple to nipple divided by 2. My nipple to nipple is 7 inches divided by 2. I have 3.5. I'll go ahead to mark it all the way down. So remember, we are only marking the back pattern because I've already made the dress and I want to attach this to it. So if you haven't yet made your own dress, you can use your same pattern to cut out for your inner lacing bar and also for your main back pattern. So I'm going to be marking ½ inch at both sides, and I'm just going to go ahead to connect it all the way up and also connect at the other side. After connecting at that point, I'm just going to connect it down to form my dart. So next, I'm going to mark my body circumference. I'll mark my bust circumference divided by 4, and I'll add the sewing allowance. So I added ½ inch before. So I remembered on the dress, the actual dress I made, I had 1.5 inch sewing allowance. So I'm going to add it back to it later. So any allowance that you add to your main pattern, please, you're also going to, if you have a dress already you want to attach this to, you're going to use the same allowance. Now I'm going to mark my under bust circumference divided by 4, measure the dart intake, and at this point I'll also add my sewing allowance. Now at the waist, I'm going to mark the waist circumference divided by 4. So for this particular pattern, you have to snatch your waist. Whenever you're making this pattern, you have to snatch your waist because that is the reason why you're adding an inner lacing bar. So for this pattern, I'm taking out 4 inches from my waistline. All you have to do is your waist circumference minus 4, then divide it by 4 and add back your dart and sewing allowance. At the top length, I'm going to mark my hip circumference divided by 4, and I'll add both my sewing allowance down there. Now, after I'm done doing that, I'm just going to go ahead to connect my pattern. So if you have any questions so far, please leave the question at the comment section. So right now, I'm just going to go ahead and mark about 1 inch on top. That is if you want your yoke to be stylish this way, or you can just leave it the way we have at the thumbnail. So I'm just going to mark about 0.25 there and mark 0.5, and I'll connect it this way. So at the yoke I marked 0.25, at the lower part of the corset I marked 0.5. This is just to get rid of bulginess when you're done sewing this dress and you're wearing it. And for this pattern, And drafting out the full pattern, because let's say you're making the dress from scratch, you have to draft out your pattern first and then go ahead to create the inner lacing bar. But if you have already made your dress, you can also make an inner lacing bar for your dress to snatch your waist. So I'll be marking 1.5 inches. This is not a standard. I like using 1.5 because it doesn't really reveal my back too much. You can go ahead and use 2 inches or more. So after drawing out that line, this is what I have on this point. So the first part of this dress, the whole part of this dress, is the part that has the zipper. I don't know if you understand. That is like the main part of the dress. So we'll be cutting it out. At that point, I'll explain more. So I'll just go ahead and measure about 1 inch and I will connect it all the way up. This is the back pattern of your dress. So the back pattern is not always too high, is a bit lower, so that it will be comfortable for you to sit. So if you're making this dress from the scratch, your front pattern also is going to, you're going to go up by 1 inch at the lower part. So please, if you're confused about what I'm saying, please leave your question at the comment section. So right now we are cutting out this piece. So let's say that you want your yoke to be like this, because what we have on the thumbnail is not actually this. I'm just cutting this out in case you want to make yours this way. But if you still want to leave it like we have at the thumbnail, you're not going to cut the upper part of this dress off this way. So now the next thing is you're going to go ahead to remove your darts, the dart of your dress. So this is what I have after I'm done cutting. So this is the main part of your dress that is carrying the zip of the dress. So you have to place this pattern on a fabric and you're going to cut out. This pattern will be serving as a 2-in-1 pattern. So I don't know if you understand, but if you don't, please leave your question at the comment section. So before you go ahead and cut out, at the back of your dress, you have to get rid of the bulginess. That is marking 1/2 inch and taking it all out. So you can just mark 1/2 inch at the waistline and connect it down, but I like taking mine down to the waist so that it will relax very well. So now after you're done cutting the first part of your dress, now you're going to cut out this part. So this is the part that will be serving as the inner lacing bar of the dress. So I have a dress that I made already, so I'm going to just sew this part and attach it to it. To see the full video of the dress, I actually have it on my YouTube channel. You can just go there and check it out. So I've used my pattern to cut this out, and I cut 2 pieces for each part of this material. So this is what I have, and I will go ahead to cut out this again with the same fabric for the lining. And after that, I went ahead to iron gum stay to it. So I'll be sewing one part of this on this video. So after you're done doing this, what you're going to do is to go ahead and stitch it up. And also on the main fabric, you're going to go ahead also to stitch it up with 1/2 inch, and I'll go ahead to iron this out. So after I'm done stitching and I'm done ironing, this is what I have. Now you're going to place one on top of the other one and stitch with 1/2 inch. So after I'm done joining it at the upper part, this is what I have. So at those points, you notice that I marked this. So I'll be placing a loop on this pattern. So I don't have an eyelet at home, so I'll be making use of a loop. So if you're making use of an eyelet, all you have to do is just stitch this down at both sides and turn it up before you go ahead and create your boning channel. So for this, I'm making use of a loop, and I'm just going to cut as many as possible, and I'll go ahead to place it on those lines. So after cutting out, you're going to fold place and you're going to pin. Now you're going to top stitch this on this part with 1/2 inch. Go ahead and repeat this on the other mark. So I make use of 1/2 inch interval. So even if you want to give little space, make use of 0.75. Please don't make use of 1 inch. There might be gaping, or you can actually use 1 inch, but don't use more than that. So I'll cut more and I'll place and pin. So I'll go over to the sewing machine and I'll top stitch on these loops with 1/2 inch. I'll go ahead, repeat this till I get to the end of the pattern, top stitch it, and after I'm done top stitching it, I'm going to place this over this way, stitch with 1/2 inch at both sides. So this is it. I'm done stitching with 1/2 inch at both sides and I've ironed it out. Immediately after my loop, I'll be stitching about 1/2 inch away from there because I'll be passing boning. So on this line I have, I'm going to top stitch on it, and then after that I'll measure about 1/2 inch and stitch on it. So the only difference now is just that you're going to insert your eyelets, but for this I'm making use of a loop. So this is it. I'm done top stitching and I used a color thread which is also on the dress that I have already made. So now you have to pass your boning and leave about 1 inch beneath it, and I'll pass my boning for the two sides. So while inserting your boning, please bond the mouth of your boning or tape it up. If not, you might have difficulties passing it through. So I had little difficulties because I had no tape at home and I didn't bond the mouth. So I'll pass boning at the other side. Go ahead to fold this in this way, or you can use another fabric to turn it just like bias. And if you have watched my inbuilt corset videos, you see that I did that also. So this is the two bag that I have, and I'm going to go ahead to attach it to the dress that I have made already. So you can also do this to your bustier dress if you want to snatch out your waistline. So now I'm going to be placing my inner back lacing bar on it, and before placing it at your armhole area, make sure that you come down by 1/2 inch. So if you notice, this is the fabric I used for the front. If you're wondering why I used this color of fabric for this dress, my actual waistline when I made the dress was 14. I used my actual waistline, but whenever you're making this, you're trying to snatch out your waist, sorry. And when we are drafting this pattern, we took out 4 inches. So that 4 inches we took out, we ended up having 24. So 24 divided by 2, I have 12. So I'm going to make sure that what I have is about 12 inches. That's marking out 1 inch on both sides of my waistline, and I'll connect it back. And I went to the sewing machine to stitch it up. So what I'm going to do next is to place this at the back of my dress. So when I'm placing it, I'll make sure that I go down by 1/2 inch from the armhole. This is to avoid it being uncomfortable. So I'm going to go ahead to pin it all the way to the lower part, and when I'm pinning the other side also, I'll make sure that it is matching at the upper part and also at the lower part of my dress. So at this point, if you find this tutorial very interesting and educative, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and if you have any question, please leave it at the comment section. So after you're done pinning it, you're going to trace out your initial sewing. So when you get to this point that you snatched your waist, you're going to follow it down to where the inner lacing bar stops. So if you notice, the inner lacing bar is a bit below our waist. This is to help snatch your waist very well. So I'm going to repeat this at the other side. So, and when I get to that part that I shaped out the waist to snatch it, I'm also going to sew. So after I'm done sewing, this is the final result of our dress. So if you find this tutorial very interesting and educative, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and join us in our next video.